I'm Richard Dodd, and you're listening to the Ecology Academy podcast. This is a show where we get to talk and learn about all things ecological, including interviews with top ecologists, both employers and employees, those working with ecologists, and also aspiring and inspiring career-seeking individuals setting out to make a difference. The show aims to provide you with insights, advice, and inspiration to help you succeed and excel as an effective ecologist and to make a real difference to our natural environment. Hi there, and a happy new year to you all. Welcome to the Ecology Academy podcast and our first episode of 2022. So, how are you all? Did you have a good break? I know I had a good break. It was a nice time to actually spend time with family and friends. A little bit different. I'm sure that most of you have experienced a different sort of a festive break than usual years, shall we say. But I'm so looking forward to actually starting in 2022 and getting going on some of those goals that I've set in late last year and refining them early this year as well. So, there's still time to actually, if you haven't already set any objectives, any goals for 2022, go back and listen to the previous podcast. Have a listen to the how to set an effective goal. It was a very brief episode to introduce you to goal setting, and I'll touch upon that again in this podcast itself. But there's also some actionable items to take away with you in terms of delivering on those goals. So actually, setting a plan is great, but if it's just going to sit on a shelf or be in your head, it's not very much use to you or anyone else. So we'll have a look at actually execution or actually implementing those objectives and those goals, those tactics that will help you achieve your goals through 2022. So that's to come in this episode. So I just wanted to wish you all, let's say, a happy new year and introduce you to some of the interviews we've got lined up for 2022 and a little bit of a change. So it's always good to have a bit of a change for a new season. So I just want to introduce those to you as well. And one of the main changes we're going to have a look at is mixing it up a lot. So we're going to have some great interviews. I'm looking forward to actually having quite a few great interviews with some people both working within the industry and also around the industry within sort of on the peripheral edges of there as well. So we'll be looking at carrying on with the interview series, a few different twists in the interviews themselves in terms of getting a little bit more practical tips from our wonderful guests that come onto this podcast itself. So you will actually benefit from taking those away. So we've had some great conversations in 2021, and I've taken forward quite a few of the actions that our guests have actually relate to us, but I'm going to make them even more actionable for 2022. So there'll be a few questions that we'll be putting to our guests as they go along. So look forward to that. But of course, there's the interview section. But we're also going to introduce to you, which we haven't done very much in 2021, and that is career guidance. So whether you're at the start of your journey or whether you're progressing, we'll have a look at not just, I'll put my own flavour of things into the mix there in terms of career guidance, whether it be CV writing, whether it be actually interview techniques, and also progressive. So how do you progress through your career? So whether it be as a career changer, whether it be actually looking at a secondment somewhere, or actually be advancing through that, that sort of ladder-like, although it's very much like a lattice approach to actually career progression. So having a look how you progress through your career, what sort of things to focus on, not just on your ecological skills and knowledge, but also those ones that support it, those underpin it, such as like communication skills or project management skills, time management skills, all those things. And most importantly, and I make no exception and boast about this, the importance of having an open mindset as well. So this is something we're going to be looking towards. Now, we go through both an open and fixed mindset throughout our lives, but no, it's not just think that you will have 100% an open mindset or growth mindset, as it's called, but it's looking at identifying those areas. So we'll be looking at points like having a regular career conversations, both with ourselves, an internal debate and an internal conversation, but also with our colleagues too, looking at how we sort of record our successes as well. Now, you may recall, if you've listened to the previous podcast, that one thing I was going to do for 2022 was to have I've brought it now with me. It's an A4 book, and in the back of the book, I've written down my objectives for 2022 and look at putting a little bit more flesh on those bones there, looking at the tactics actually to get to actually achieve those goals. And at the front of the book, I'm starting to write my own small successes. So these can be like little wins. So, for instance, I went for a walk today rather than actually sitting home and watching endless Netflix. So I've managed to actually go for a walk, go for a run. These small little wins, so should we say, put all down. It can also obviously put down the large wins too. So we're going to be looking at different aspects of how you progress throughout your career. So right from the start, early career ecologist, all the way up to progressive, and also setting up your own business. So if that's something that you are looking to do in 2022 or beyond, we got some podcasts for you later on in this year. And finally, we're going to also have a looking at some tips, and I've highlighted them already, about advancing your goals and how to get the most out of your goals. And that's one thing we're going to focus upon today, an introduction to sort of not just goal setting, but actually implementation of those goals, taking action. So without further ado, let's get into that itself. So I'm just going to highlight a little bit of something that we did say late last year, which is about having that vision, that goal setting idea. So if you cast your mind back, what you want to do is to spend probably no more than 5 minutes on each of these sort of areas, putting down some goals, what you want to achieve for 2022. So topics could be your health, financial objectives, family and friends, experiences, career and business, and things and stuff. Now, I won't dwell upon the areas there, which I discussed that last month, but spend about 5 minutes writing down what you'd like to achieve, and maybe just one or up to about 3 items per category. It may be that you're going to just focus upon career and business, and that's fine, but do remember that career and business is also part of your life, and so there are other elements that may have a knock-on effect. So this is what I call like a big vision. So yes, you may be focusing upon your career and business itself, because this is a podcast about your work and maybe your life around ecology. But don't forget that how we show up manifests in different ways. So it's not just within your career, but it's also outside of work itself. So that's why I mentioned about health, setting health objectives, financial objectives, family and friends, making time for people, experiences, going out to the cinema, going out to the theatre. As we slowly open up again, hopefully it'll be a lot better in 2022 than it was in the latter part of 2021. And things and stuff as well. So yes, it's maybe the material things, but what sort of things do you want in 2022? Whether it be a car, whether it be a house, your first house, whether it be moving house, whether it be, moving to an electrical vehicle, for instance, or actually would we be, purchasing that item that you've always wanted. So last year, for instance, one of my items for things and stuff was a trombone. So I managed to purchase a trombone, work towards getting that. So it's nice to have those sort of things to look forward to. So, okay, so if you haven't done it already, set your objectives for 2022. Make sure they're smart as well, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound as well, when you're going to achieve it by. So those are the sorts of things we discussed last month in the previous podcast. And when you're setting goals, just a little bit of more information on that. Try to, if it's the first time, perhaps just having a couple of easy goals. Let's say no more than 3. 5 is your absolute maximum per those categories there. But really, it's not about loads of different objectives, because the more you focus upon, the less you're going to achieve. Really, you're going to spread yourself too thinly, especially if these are something really meaty goals. And what I talk about a meaty goal is something what's known as a stretch goal. So It could be that you really want to master and be an expert in QGIS, for instance, or you want to fully understand, implement, take forward, be a leader in the UK habitat classification system and maybe biodiversity net gain. Or it could be something that you just want to be a master in your own field in terms of entomology, or whether it be actually public speaking, for instance. You want to be engaged in a lot more public speaking events, for instance. So just think about sort of those stretch goals. And when it comes down to implementing them, the first thing you can do is to identify how you're going to achieve them. And these are your tactics. So how can you achieve your goals? For instance, if we had said, for instance, that one of your goals may be to be proficient in the use of QGIS, for instance, have a look at how you're going to do that. Think about all the things and just write them down on a piece of paper, and it's like a brain dump exercise. It's just a thought-provoking exercise, and spend about 10 minutes writing down everything you need to do, and think absolutely everything. Nothing's barred. Don't think about how stupid they are or you're not achievable. Just write it all down that comes into your head. So this, for instance, proficient in the use of QGIS. So first of all, if you haven't got the QGIS, the first thing you might probably have to do is download QGIS. You may want to seek out tutorials online, maybe seek out training, actually team up with someone, actually go and practice QGIS using Phase 1 or UK habitat classification systems. Think about all the things that are going to make you proficient and achieve that goal in 2022. And when you're going to do them. So actually be that time-bound element. So download QGIS. I'm going to do that today. Seek out training and tutorials, for instance, online. That's something you could do also today or next week. Whatever it is, make sure it's time-bound. Another example is if you want to undertake the UK habitat classification system and you want to be proficient in most habitats types. So first of all, again, very simple, brainstorm or everything you need to be to do in order to actually achieve that goal itself. These are your tactics. So downloading the UK habitat classification codes, for instance, get similar tutorials. Using the biodiversity metric calculation tools, get used to those, all those, seek out guidance, go on training courses, team up with buddies, I say those, I'm repeating myself now, but you get the gist of things. Make sure that you've got some tactics there, and also write them down. Which week you're going to do it in, which month you're going to do it in. So we tend to use a 12-week sort of goals and tactics sheet where we're going to actually say, okay, what am I going to achieve this quarter, the next 12 weeks? And we write those down and, just maybe 3 goals. So it could be that you want to focus on your health for months 1. Or you may want to, or one objective for health, one objective for business, one objective for finance, for instance, and for quarter 1. So you make sure that's a big goal for you. And write those down and say all those tactics there to actually get to actually identify how you're going to do it, how you're going to deliver it. Okay. And then you need to measure. So, at the end, so if you said you're going to download QGIS on day 1, what you want to do really is to measure the effectiveness. So did you actually achieve it? And a big tick, yes, I downloaded it, fantastic. That's one easy hit. You can actually say at the end, you've actually achieved that objective by downloading QGIS, and you're moving towards that ultimate goal of being proficient in the use of QGIS. So it can be really, really simple. Okay, but if you don't make these plans, you're just leaving it to chance, and that's going to be, yes, you may get somewhere, but they may be not where you actually want to get. Okay, so those are just a few ideas. So it's actually being intentional with your time and being deliberate with that plan you've made in 2021, late 21, or now in 2022. And I want you to achieve. I want you to be successful in 2022, whether it be obtaining that first job as an ecologist, whether it be seeking that promotion towards senior or principal ecologist, or owning your own business, running your own business, what that actually means, and why you're doing it. Or I say those financial goals. So you can, you're sorting out an ethical pension scheme, for instance. So it's it's extremely important. Or you want to be mortgage free by 2023. Bit of a rhyme there for you. I don't know where this comes from. But making sure that it's achievable as well and realistic, and I say those time-bound elements. Now, to help you with that time use as well, it may be useful to. I mean, I personally write things down. I say this is why I've got this book with me now. So at the front, as I said, I do those small wins, the successes. But at the back, it's my objective setting, my sort of goals there. And so I use pen and paper, but you may be more of a sort of I don't know, a Monday.com or Asana person, or maybe you love Microsoft Excel spreadsheets or Google Calendar, whatever it is. Find the tool or app that works for you and use it. But don't spend ages trying to find one. Just make sure something just really works for you. So some people. This is the procrastination, really, that spend a lot of time searching the perfect tool to enable them to achieve all their objectives, when really it's taking time away from actually delivering on those goals as well. So procrastination, thinking is absolutely fine. Procrastination is maybe, have a look about to see about where you procrastinate and why. Is it because you are trying to put off something, so I think that's going to be something to look at in 2022. So why don't you achieve goals? And so write those things down. What can actually, mention it last month as well, what will actually inhibit you from achieving your goals? Is it money? Is it time? Is it you that's actually going to be the sort of the hindrance? So I think those are just a few things that help you with your goal setting itself. Now, I just want to talk about, these are going to be actionable items for January 2022, something to take away with you. And I'm going to give you a few tips, something that I do myself, so I can actually vouch that actually these actually do work. Clearly, they're not going to work for everyone, but I'm just going to, if you've got a better tool, better book, better resource, I'd love to hear about it. I'm extremely keen to hear about other people's the way they sort of reach their objectives. So I'm just going to mention a couple of things that I used or have read and used and watched in order to actually aim for me to achieve my goals. And the first one is, and it's a great one for the start of the year, because many of us make these New Year resolutions, and strangely by months, or even by the end of January, some of these have actually failed because we just haven't got the time, because we haven't properly planned them, and we don't fully understand actually implications of making a change within our sort of life. And this is where I go back to that big vision, that although we've got some great plans for our career, for instance, they may not manifest because something's affecting it in a different area, whether that be financial, whether it be health-wise, or whether it be family and friends, for instance. So we need to identify. This is why I think you need to have a holistic approach to goal setting. But anyway, I digress. Let's have a look at some of these tools and resources that have really helped me. And the first one, is an amazing book. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's so great. I read this in, I think I was at the latter part of 2020 or early 2021. Probably the early 2021, when I was actually setting my goals for that year itself. And it's great because what it does is identify. So we all got these great ideas and aspirations for the year. Yeah, I'm going to achieve a lot more. I'm going to do for that. I'm going to do 100k run every month. And that was one of my early goals of 2021. And sometimes it manifests, sometimes it doesn't. But it's looking at the habits behind these. Why do some things come easy to us, and some things are a little bit harder to actually achieve, and also we just give up or fail at something. And I think we should look at failure as a learning opportunity. And this book by James Clear, Atomic Habits, it really brings it home about habits, both bad habits and good habits, and either forming habits, how we do that, and how the process of achieving it. And also, identifying when we're going off track. All right. So one of the most memorable parts of that book I can remember, it was actually, writing things down, looking at the areas where actually I could be thrown off track, and also breaking down into tiny little steps. So, for instance, it could be that you wanted to read more books. Again, you need to quantify that. What do you mean by reading more books? And you want to think about how that connects to your personality. So reading more books. How many books is this? So is it one book per month, or do you want to just read 5 more books than you did in 2021, for instance? What are those books itself? And what's stopping you from achieving it? Is it because, actually, do you know what? I read at night time and in bed, and I can read for about 5 minutes and then I'm out. That's it. So you're not going to achieve that goal, for instance, if your habit is reading at night time. So maybe you need to change things, identify what's going to actually be your limitation here, and maybe you may find that you need to get up a little bit earlier, perhaps, so if you're at 7 o'clock riser, maybe rising at 6, for instance, and spending time, obviously you're not going to do it straight away, but looking at a better time to actually achieve that objective, for reading books. So it could be that you need to shift your attention away from nighttime reading to actually daytime reading, because it's a bit, you're self-sabotaging yourself by, just because of your habits. So it's the environment. Is it because you live in a busy household, for instance, that there's a lot of noise and distraction, and you're not quite free? The phone's there, social media's actually influencing, pings, and you actually read, you read that rather than actually concentrating your book. So it could be identifying where these distractions are, where they lie, and maybe eliminating one or more of them. But doing it on a progressive scale. Now, it could be, for instance, this habit forming. And I can totally relate to this. Is that I must admit, I do like bad foods, including probably crisps, and chocolate is my nemesis, really. And one way I've actually tried to reduce this is okay. First of all, it sounds really easy. Just don't buy it, Richard. Just don't buy chocolates and crisps. But sometimes you do, and then they're sitting there, where they are, and it's so easy to go and get them. So what I've done is actually, and it's mentioned in the book, and this is the reason why I've done it, because it was mentioned in the book itself, is to move those things into a place where actually it causes me some discomfort to actually find out where these crisps and chocolates are. So put them at the top of a shelf, right at the back. And it's a lot more effort to actually go and find them and get them. And the action you're going through, the process, you're going, I really want this, when you're actually getting there. I need to go and get a step and going up and get them. So it's looking at how you can actually shift those habits, move those habits away from bad habits to actually good habits. Another one I think was mentioned in the book is about use of social media and your phone, how distracting it is. And I'm not saying, that phone is extremely important. It's got a lot of things on there in terms of communication devices, how you keep in touch with people. And I'm not saying throw it away, but it could be that, okay, well, social media can be your enemy, as in how many times, we all know this, how many times we check our email, check our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all those elements there, throughout the day. And it's bizarre. I mean, if you recorded how many times you do it, it's just mind-blowing. And you think about all the times you do that, add up the hours, and it's not just about... I'll come on to another book in a second. It's not the question that you go and check it, but it's also distracting you from achieving something else. So how do we get around that? Okay, we could turn the phone off. Okay, that's a great one. Turn the phone off, or delete some of the apps. Or it could be, and if you don't want to do any of that stuff, move your phone into a different location. If you're in a house, you could move it into a different room. So you're working at your desk, for instance, maybe move that phone into a different room, which means that if you want to go and check social media, so you're going to have to get up from your desk, walk across, the house or whatever, to go and check it. And then you're thinking, is it worth it? It's making it a little bit more discomfort for you to actually achieve that goal. And clearly, if you want to achieve good habits, you want to make them more favourable. So you want to increase the likelihood you're going to achieve it. So one habit that I have, I wake up at 6:30. Clearly, my alarm's going to go off. But what do I do after 6:30? Why am I getting up at 6:30? It's because I want to go. So this morning I went for a run, 5-kilometre run. Some mornings I do meditation. Some mornings I actually read. Some mornings I'm actually making plans for the day. Some mornings I just take time to walk the dog. So there's it's how do we make these good habits? Okay, so running for 5K, especially today, was freezing, really, really cold. So how do you achieve that run? Do you think, actually, I'll wait till tomorrow because it's nice and warm, it's going to be warmer. But is it ever going to be the right temperature for you to run? So just think about this. So rather than saying my alarm goes off, I'll go for a 5K run. What I tend to do is the night before I prepare, I put my running stuff out in a different room, so don't wake my wife up. So I put my running stuff in a different room. I lay them out so I know I can just put them on so easily. So they're not in a pile. They're actually methodically laid out. Left and right socks, I do have those, left and right socks in the right place. So I can just put those on. So I know they're in a different room. Also, I know that I need to have a glass of water before I start running. So I will put a glass a glass by my running stuff as well. So far, what I've got is my alarm goes off. My next step, I'm not thinking about the run. All I'm thinking about is going into that room and putting on my running clothes. When I put my running clothes on, I see the glass. I know then I need to have a drink. Okay, so I go and have my drink. It's about 500 ml, so I have a good drink in the morning to replenish that the fluid I've lost overnight itself, and also a bit more energy, because sometimes you feel a bit lethargic. Clearly, you can feel lethargic in the morning. So I have that glass of water to help me recover my energy a little bit. It takes a few minutes. It's not instant. It's not it's not magic juice. It's just water. But so I will have that glass of water. Once I've had the glass of water, there may be other things you need to do before you go out for that run. But it is making sure that you're psyching yourself up there. You've got, you're ready to go there outside. You've got your watch on, whatever you need, or recording device, and you're going out there. So rather than going for a 5K run, what I did was my alarm clock. Actually, even before so I'll go back even a further step. Before I even leave the room, my first objective is to put my feet on the floor. So alarm goes off. I put both my feet on the floor. Okay, that's all I need to do to ensure I go for a 5K run. And I just break it down to those steps. So alarm goes off, put my feet on the floor, leave the room, put my running stuff on, get my glass of water, have a glass of water, ablutions, and then straight out for the run. So you can break it down into little steps. And then, obviously, we know the feeling we get after we come back from the run. It's fantastic. You can tick it off your sheet that you've gone that run. Now, I run in the morning. It could be that you, for instance, want to run in the evening. Now, what's this got to do with ecology? The Ecology Academy podcast. Well, we all have good habits. We all have bad habits. We want to change things. And I think, if it's something you want so desperately, you want to change, have a read of that book. It's really life-changing. So much so that I've given it to all my team, all my colleagues at work, everyone. So for Christmas, okay, so most people give, colleagues maybe a bottle of Prosecco, something like that, or something. But my colleagues, they all got a book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. So I don't know. Last year I gave them the 12-week year, and that was a different book. I think this has got a little bit better. I'm getting a little bit better at actually choosing books for my team. So Atomic Habits by James Clear, that's a great one. Another one to have a look at, and this is, I touched on it early on, it's The Myth of Multitasking. And this is a book. It's a shorter book. It'll probably take you, take you a lot quicker to read than Atomic Habits. Although Atomic Habits is a brilliant read. It's very, really well written. There's actual items in there. It's really, really simple to actually use. But multitasking. Now, this book, it's a second edition by Dave Crenshaw. So how doing it all gets nothing done. And it just blows. We pride ourselves on being able to multitask. And in all honesty, we can't. What we think is multitasking is something different. I know it's a bit semantics, but we're not actually doing lots of different things at the same time. Okay, so if we are, we're not doing them very well. So you just think about, for instance, if you're listening to this podcast and maybe watching TV, you're probably doing one more than the other. You probably concentrate upon that film, for instance, rather than actually my beautiful tones. But occasionally you will listen to what a few things I say on the podcast, and guests do as well. So are you really concentrating upon one thing, or are you trying to cram things in, save time? And you can't really effectively multitask. And Dave Crenshaw shows you that, explains it. So if you're skeptical about what I'm saying about, actually, do you know what, Richard, I am actually a really good multitasker. There are certain things we can do, obviously walk and talk, for instance, or maybe walk and talk, and we can even drive a car using our hands and feet if it's a manual car, for instance. But there's some things like having a conversation with a colleague who you need to spend time with, and also getting that email sent out to another person this is a priority as well. So trying to do those two things means you're probably going to not do them to your best ability. Yes, you'll do them, but at what cost? And the cost is both in terms of, if your colleague, for instance, if you need to have a deeper conversation with your colleague, it just shows disrespect to them. So they're thinking, well, was Richard really listening to me while I was typing that email? I don't think so. So do you know what? I'm not going to come back to him next time, or I'm just going to send him an email. And equally so, the person receiving that email going, so many typographical or errors in this, or actually doesn't quite make sense. I'm going to have to give this person a call because I don't quite understand. So actually, it doesn't save you time in the end. Now, as I say, you may be skeptical, thinking, do you know what? You just need to get better at multitasking, Richard. That's what you need to do, isn't it, really? But it does come at a cost. And Dave Crenshaw's book really explains it well. As I say, there's worksheets in there to help you figure out how to manage your day effectively, which I found really useful. And also, there are easily actionable steps to manage your life well and accomplish your goals. So it really does tie in. So these Atomic Habits by James Clear and The Myth of Multitasking by Dave Crenshaw. That's my sort of tip. I don't get any sort of any accreditation at all for recommending these books. Have a look on TED Talks as well. There's a TED Talk. I think it's by Judson Brewer. It says a simple way to break a bad habit. So if you want to watch something rather than read something, have a look out for that. So that's Judson Brewer, a simple way to break a bad habit. Equally so, look out for James Clear as well. He's been on some TED Talks, and it's really interesting to have a look at how you sort of take a bad habit and identify that it is bad and what's making it bad, and is there such a thing as a bad habit, and is there such a thing as a good habit? Anyway, that's all I'm going to leave you with. Okay, so have a read of those books. I'm looking forward to this year in terms of our podcasts coming out. We've got some great guests lined up. We're going to switch it around a bit, make it a bit more actionable, so you will take something away from each and every one of these, whether it be, to actually follow that person on social media, or whether it actually take some of the actions that we talk about during the interviews themselves. And also that career guidance, whether you're an early career ecologist or whether you're progressing throughout your career, or maybe looking to set up your own business. These are the sort of the podcasts we'll be looking at, talking through this year. Now, equally so, there is time for you to send in what you really want me to talk about. And not me, this is another big reveal. We're going to have some co-hosts coming along. So it won't just be me every single month on the Ecology Academy podcast. I will be co-hosting with someone, and also they will also be producing their own podcast and putting on to the Ecology Academy podcast platform too. So there's something to look forward to later on the year. But if there's anything that you want us to actually, anyone you want us to interview, any particular topic you want covered, let us know. Email me at richard@ecologyacademy.co.uk. And we shall have a look at that. And be obviously in the latter part of 2022. We've got most things lined up for the first half of this year. But it certainly will feed into the second half of this year itself. That's all for now. Hope you have a great 2022. And it's obviously just the start of things. If you haven't written those objectives, go and write them down. If you want to be deliberate, make sure you got those tactics. And also go and check out those books. So Atomic Habits by James Clear and The Myth of Multitasking by Dave Crenshaw. And maybe watch that TED Talk by Judson Brewer on a simple way to break a bad habit. That's all for now. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back soon. If you enjoy our show and want to help, then please click on the subscribe button and rate us on your favourite podcast player, as that's how you can inspire ecologists in the making, help retain great talent, and provide provide insights of our industry to a much wider audience of why ecology really does matter. Thank you. And remember, learning is a lifelong endeavour, so stay curious, be adventurous, and build bridges for others to cross.